Okay, I'm going to cover some of these issues with the material editor that we've been having. Uh, and largely it's from using, I guess, the difference between the slate and the compact and some of the settings that we need to be aware of. I did some research on it and found out potentially some of the problems that one could come across in mapping, say, a texture or an image to a plane. Anyway, let's go to, you can hit M, going into your material editor. And here are some of the shapes that I created, or some of the materials that I created early on using the slate. Let's switch over to compact real quick. You'll notice in compact, you have these different slots, and you can scroll and see that you got a whole bunch of them. And these you can just select one and actually go to get material. You want to hit standard. Now you can type that in to find it if you prefer, or scroll for it and double click on it. I'm going to just go ahead and hit standard, and under standard we can go down here to diffuse and click bitmap. Now once we're here, we can choose, let's see, the sort. You can see that sort is mapped there to that. Okay. Now you can drag and drop this, or however you want to add it. But you're not going to see it unless you click on Show Shaded Material in Viewport. Now you can see it. Also, keep in mind on tiling, if you're not set to 1, it will tile. So make sure that you're set to 1. Otherwise, you're going to get multiple as you can see. I can add 4. And that should give me 4. Right now that's 3. But what I can do is select that map itself and move it. And the way you do that is you come over here to your modifier list. Make sure you're selected there. Then go to UVW map. That way you can go ahead and select this. Planar. Make sure you're all over your you can select the alignment. Typically you want to keep it on Z because it'll figure out pretty much where you want that to go, or you'll say if you have a vertical plane that you want to map, put a map on, you'll have to use some of these others. But you can see it creates a little box showing you in what direction the vertical ones go. Now if I choose my move material, move, I should be able to move that map. Make sure you clicked and turned yellow that UVW map. That way you can move it depending on how you want it centered. As you can see there, you can rotate it, you can do all of these other things, but this is mostly what you're going to do. Once you get into too many, if you get into scale at all, then you're going to mess up the actual scale that this came into, so I don't suggest using that. If you want to scale it, I would suggest using the tiling. You know, we can set it to 1 or 1. The other thing you can do is I'll center that. Now you can see that's too big for that, but what we can do is we can come over here and select go back down to plane and select real world mapping, then come over here and use real world scale. Now what you can do is you can start typing in the size that you want it to be, and right now we're 0.025, which is kind of, I guess, large. Let's try 0.5 and see what that gives us. Oh, 0.05. And as you can see, if you go back over here, you can then move it. But it made it much, much smaller, and now we're into a tiling situation. There's 1, taking off tiling. Altogether. So that's something to look at. And I think that should take care of some of the questions that we had the other day. I want to come revisit this and possibly get deeper into it as your needs demand it. But we're going to see the tiling command itself. And let me just say one thing. The tiling command itself, and let's go back to deselecting that and deselecting this and just go straight tiling. I'll put the tiling on. Now, and you can move this up. Oh, sorry. I need to double click on that. You can move this up and it's still going to stay the same. It's just projecting down onto this plane. So it's not going to alter at all. The only way you're going to alter it is on the X and Y axis, doing it this way. The value of tiling, and let me tell you, when you get into some of the architectural things, say tile, for instance, and you create one tile and you want to figure out how to tile a floor, this is going to all of a sudden start to make sense as to how to do that, and reproducing if we put it down to 10, or up to 10 rather, then all of a sudden, if you envision each one of these as a tile, on a floor, it starts to make sense as to how one might use that tiling feature. But that's what I'm going to cover for now. Throw some more questions at me if you need them answered, and I may have to do some research on them to get you a better answer. But for now, this should help. You can do the same thing in the slate mode. I'm trying to simplify it a little bit by putting it in this mode, so that we don't have so many bells and whistles and so much interface to deal with. I'm going to post this. Please look at it. Any questions? We'll talk about it next class. Thank you.